Following the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, the world anticipated the natural progression. William and Catherine, Prince and Princess of Wales, moving into Buckingham Palace. This was more than a relocation. It was a symbolic return of a future queen consort to the very heart of the British monarchy. But the move, the moment, and the meaning of the palace itself were irrevocably changed by what Catherine discovered hidden within its ancient walls, a secret so profound it left the royal institution reeling and forced her immediate, shocking refusal to live there. Catherine arrived at Buckingham Palace discreetly in late September, accompanied only by a small security detail and two trusted senior aides. The designated private quarters, recently renovated, were pristine, polished marble, fresh paint, and gilded perfection. Yet, it was not the grandeur that caught her eye, but a barely perceptible anomaly, a piece of warped wood paneling situated near a fireplace in the northeast guest suite. When she pressed against it, it gave way slightly. Despite attempts by a palace guard to dismiss it as nothing more than old timber swelling from heat, Catherine's intuition was absolute. "Don't continue construction," she firmly instructed. "Not until I know what's behind that." The panel was carefully pried open, revealing a narrow, dust-coated cavity running deep within the plaster. Just beyond the initial gap, Catherine spotted the corner of a metal object. It was a heavy, sealed container, deliberately lodged in the wall and marked with the royal cipher of King George VI, her great-grandfather-in-law. Her composure shifted immediately. "This was hidden," she stated in a low, clear voice. "Not lost. Hidden." The finding was immediately sealed off, and security was ordered to lock down the room and keep the discovery strictly off record until its true nature could be assessed. This was, she realized, no mere design flaw. It was a history that had been deliberately buried. That single moment altered everything about her perception of the palace. While security protocols focused on the sealed box, Catherine's attention was drawn to another area, the magnificent white drawing room, one of Buckingham Palace's most celebrated and historic spaces. There, behind an immense, 10-foot-tall gilded floor mirror, they discovered a concealed door leading to a secret, intact passageway. The route stretched from the public staterooms deep into the most private family apartments. It was not referenced on any renovation blueprints, nor had it ever been mentioned in her pre-move briefings. While rumors of private routes in Buckingham Palace have always persisted, this passage was different. It showed signs of recent use, active airflow, an emergency light, and faint footprints in the dust. Some speculate it connects to the palace's earliest servant corridors, while others suggest a secure wartime basement vault. But Catherine needed no further proof. The hidden passage was a living metaphor for the palace's true function, a place built for control, evasion, and surveillance, not for comfort or family life. When she quietly asked her accompanying aides who else was privy to this passage, the silence in the room confirmed her greatest fear. It represented the very things Diana had warned against: walls that harbored secrets, corridors designed for spying, and a deep-seated system built to preserve its own power, not the well-being of the people it housed. Standing before the dark entry, Catherine turned away, understanding she did not need to step inside to know the truth. This building was never meant to be her family's home. Once the sealed container was secured and the palace was quiet for the night, Catherine, accompanied only by one senior aide, opened the heavy box. What lay inside was profoundly unsettling: crumbling fragments of old architectural blueprints, torn ledger pages, and handwritten letters, all neatly wrapped in decades-old cloth. The messages, though aged, were still legible. Several documents dated back to the 1930s and 1950s, but what truly shocked her were marginal notes scribbled more recently, dated 1987 and 1992. One anonymous, torn page bearing a royal wax seal read, "Too many know. Shut it down before it reaches the girl." Another, chillingly dated just weeks before Princess Diana's death, contained the sentence, "She suspects the door. We've blocked it from her. But the boy will ask." The girl, the boy, the door. The references were vague, but the context was unmistakable. Someone had deliberately concealed knowledge, access, and potentially a very real danger from Diana. And those same walls now encircled Catherine. Beneath the collection of coded emblems and faded royal seals lay a blueprint of Buckingham Palace, marked in ominous red ink, showing restricted areas and underground routes. One box, heavily crossed out, was simply labeled Black Room. Catherine immediately grasped the gravity of the find. These were not mere historical artifacts. They were pieces of a long-buried, carefully guarded puzzle, the kind of secret, powerful figures would risk everything to keep hidden. And they were never intended for her eyes. That night, Catherine did not sleep. The sense of protection the palace was meant to offer had evaporated, replaced by the chilling awareness of being watched. She had always understood the gravity of the monarchy, but this felt colder, darker, a system built not just on tradition but on layers of enforced secrecy, gilded in luxury. The following morning, her decision was final. Gathering her senior staff, she delivered her verdict with an unwavering resolve. "I won't live in a house of whispers." The palace establishment was stunned. Never before had a future queen publicly refused the offer of Buckingham Palace residence. But Catherine's reasoning went beyond image. It was a calculated decision based on her family's safety and the disturbing truths the walls held. If Diana's suspicions and Catherine's recent discovery were linked, then moving into Buckingham was akin to walking into a prepared trap. To the public, the palace symbolized power. To Catherine, it was suddenly an ornate, inescapable cage. Her refusal was not a rejection of duty, but a powerful redefinition of it. By turning away, she was declaring that the future queen would not be constrained by ghosts, old rules, or hidden hallways. It was an act of dignity, a clear statement that her legacy would be built on choice, not silence. When Catherine informed Prince William of her decision, he offered no argument, yet the news resonated deeply within him. William had spent his life preparing to rule from Buckingham Palace, the unassailable symbol of monarchy and duty. Now, that symbol was threatening to shatter his family's peace. Having seen the cryptic documents and heard her description of the hidden passage, William knew her decision was driven by clear-eyed honesty. Buckingham was no home. It was a warning. Yet, he was caught in an impossible bind. Tradition, courtiers, and his father, King Charles, insisted the future monarch must reside there. His wife, the mother of his children, had uncovered evidence of the kind of systemic secrecy that had tragically consumed his mother. How could he possibly force her to sleep under a roof built on deceit? William reportedly confided in an aide, "This isn't about the crown anymore. It's about keeping her safe." While advisors pushed him to persuade Catherine, citing duty, William refused, determined not to subject his wife to the destructive patterns that had destroyed Diana. However, his decision has created significant tension with senior palace aides and, reportedly, quiet disappointment from King Charles over his refusal to enforce tradition. Yet, William's priority remains clear. Catherine's safety comes first. He is now protective, meeting with lawyers and archives, navigating the dangerous line between survival and duty that Diana once walked. For William, this crisis is a chance to prove that this time, the crown will not be permitted to break the woman who stands beside him.